السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الحمد لله.
Peace and blessings and mercy of Allah be upon you all. Assalamu alaikum. All praises due to Allah who has created man in the best of form and He has guided him onto the straight path. I praise Allah a lot until Allah is pleased, until the day of judgment, and may the peace and blessings be upon His Prophet Muhammad, the seal of all the prophets. Muhammad, peace be upon him and on his household and his honorable companions. Thank you all the organizers for all your efforts and for your hospitality and for hosting me to this conference entitled Ethics and Arts. Two questions that are important have been posed, which are the topic of our session regarding the relationship between arts and aesthetics and my understanding of the Islamic arts. This art, which I did my best to reveal through my journey, and I have drawn an ethical and social and educational line through this presentation. I will try to explain to you this idea. First of all, I would like to identify arts and ethics in brief, and then I will get into the topic. Allah has created man from body and soul or spirit and sent him to the material life and made him Khalifa on this earth to take up this responsibility. This is his responsibility on the earth. So this person has material wishes such as eating and drinking, and spiritual one in terms of appreciating aesthetics which Allah has created in this universe through His creatures, which it by itself sends a message to the soul of man, feelings and messages that make him feel his needs to this universe surrounding him. And the expression of man as thus of those feelings and those signals sent by those creatures is what we will call arts. And arts in a language is singular of art, which is kinds, and it is the situation, and it's two, fannan, and three is funun. And funun or arts is different, such as ways of talking, and a person of arts is indeed a person who practices and does works of art. In the dictionary, it is said that arts is a human activity based on freedom and awareness, and general perspective was attributed to it in the medieval ages that it is applicable or applied arts, and the forms are different. We hear about arts of cooking, arts of war, and in addition to those arts where literature and technology interact, such as theater and cinema. And some say it is a group of rules in order to reach a certain goal, whether it's aesthetics or goodness or benefit. So if this is the purpose, which is called beauty or aesthetics arts, and that of accomplishing goodness is called ethical arts, etc., etc. Now we move on to identifying ethics. Islamic intellectual Ali Izzat Begovic, in his book Islam Between East and West, where he identifies that, saying ethics are a manner that contradicts the animalistic instincts, where he says manners or ethics as limited or confined by nature, and to him are not ethics but rather a form of selfishness which is wise and enlightened. How can we therefore identify the relationship between arts and aesthetics and to use it as a judgment on what is happening in terms of ethical degradation in modern life? the relationship between arts and aesthetics is an old didactic that goes back to the philosophers' ages, and it was a difference between some philosophers. Plato was the first when he rejected arts. It was believed that arts has lies and imagination, and he says that for arts to be ethical, it has to be confined to meanings and only to put good examples for humanity. While we see Russian Lyutosto, novelist, who also has criticized artistic, liberal artistic, says a wise man will resort to Plato's opinion that there should not be art at all. He rejects a lot of artistic works such as the poetry of a French poet. Also, there are some who want to separate ethics from artistic works and to evaluate it only as literal away from ethics, such as Dr. Al-Nuwayhi when he criticized Bashar bin Gord in his poetry, which is very lewd, and he said that the value of the arts has no relationship with the ethical standard, even though he says Bashar poetry is very ugly. And because there's a crime committed and unjustified, but he retracted this to say very clearly that we cannot abandon the ethical responsibility of the artistic person, such as what I did in the past. An artistic cannot abandon ethics and his responsibility as a man of enlightenment and insight wherever his art is, if it's poetry, theater, dancing, whatever. And I, as a human being, I took it upon myself not to confine my musical skills, but rather to present it, to help and serve ethics out of belief that art should be for the not only for entertainment, but to help society. I thought about what additional value I can give through singing and music, which is my skills. So I went to the kids as the men of the future and the hope of the future. So I issued 2 singing volumes in Al-Fusha of poets in Morocco, calling for love of religion, love of order, and also I have made concerts, the proceeds of which are for charity organizations, and I have made sure that in each time my art will have a magical impact on all the kids, because we always call for social cohesion and symbiosis and helping the society and helping the kids and helping the kids on the street, helping the women on the street, and also helping to combat wars. And she is counting her arts and works, and she's going very fast in narrating all her art works. And Banat Suad, arts which he mentioned for praising Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and for the world to know the manners of our beloved Prophet, who has honored this poet by giving him his cloak. And our beloved Prophet has loved all that is beautiful, especially poetry, which was the art of the Arabs. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, indeed, it has magic. So art has a message to reveal Allah's revelation. Isn't Quran miraculous in its literal presentation, which the poets were unable to come with? Allah, indeed, the one who has created everything in perfection. Allah is the one who has perfected the creation of everything. Allah has revealed the truth. Therefore, we have to intensify our efforts to create an alternative arts to convince our youth, but this is in the hands of the producers. who do not really pay attention to religion or ethics. So all our efforts will be just a drop in the sea. However, that does not mean that we should surrender, because the path is difficult. And maybe we'll be among the pioneers who will send the beauties in and within Islam. Indeed, the Sharia confinements have really confined my work somehow, and I was try to be directed by them. I was never thinking that I would be able to stand behind a big audience and sing to them or reveal a message to them. Also, I see that the environment dictates that women should sit separately from men. So the problem was in considering that the voice of a woman is illicit to be heard by men. So that was the opinion that is relevant. However, my voice was my only asset, because I was afraid to violate the Sharia. So I was therefore delayed in my arts of works until I read Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi and other contemporary scholars such as Ghazali and Qaradawi, and I've read their fatwas. Even though I was convinced that our great religion does not forbid beauty and aesthetics and giving a good voice in order to call for ethics, to serve society and to serve orphans and helping those in need. That conviction has really led me to stand my grounds and to marginalize what some media says about arts, because my art is not driven by profit, and because Islamic production companies are still rejecting to adopt the voice of women, and they try to marginalize that. Despite that, I was still able to search for channels and the internet to reveal my message to children. Still, the challenges were humongous, facing any woman who is really observing manners and ethics in her arts. Thank you so much.